Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jaco with Unleashing Intuition Secrets, and I'm pleased to announce we have Juan Savin with us today. And of course, we're starting at 107 here on the Pacific Coast. So perfect timing. And Juan and I kind of agreed that he's going to talk a little bit about the Special Forces action that happened just recently. And to give you a little insight, there's 1% of people have gone in the military. 1% go into special forces. There's 1% of us have these intuitive abilities. So when I look at Juan Savin's information, it impresses me on an incredible level. And his new book, Kid by the Side of the Road, my God, you guys, if you have not read that book, everyone in the world needs to read this book. It's going to blow you open. And then when you read that book and you listen to Juan Savin talk, you're understand him on a whole different level. All right, Juan, so pleased for you to join us. Thank you very much.
Hey, and I've really enjoyed your audience has been fantastic. And, I really appreciate that we got a chance to cross paths here a while back. And it's always fun to find new audiences to share stuff with. And so I'm very appreciative. They're a great audience.
Yeah, they're fantastic. Thanks.
Just diving right into it. So a lot of people have heard about the whole situation with the servers and the Seidel stuff over in Germany. And just to clarify that, it was reported as though, we'd gone in with practically tanks and helicopters or something. And that's not quite what transpired. According to what I've been told, by some of my folks that are tied into this. This was a facility that was being used by CIA, by that type of an operation, kind of a safe house type situation like what you would have in Benghazi. People thought that Benghazi was a State Department regular offices or something. It wasn't. It was a safe house. It was the villa. It was where they did a lot of their meetings at, but there was no official to the public operation there at all. It wasn't someplace you'd come to get your passport stamped or something like that. So that was just BS. This was a safe house location where the ambassador could meet with other people. And, this was kind of a similar situation in Germany, probably what you would see in your movie stuff and like that. And they had servers in there. And of course, the contention is, well, who was running that operation? What was the logic between, who was involved in that? And we have a contingent that's out here really working against the president and working against the country. And they're in these 3-letter agencies. If you haven't seen that, you're not paying attention. That goes all the way back with the dossier and everything else. So knowing that, this was policing and a military contingent that went in there, took control of a facility that was technically under our control anyway, and seized servers and materials there at that location that technically are really the property of the United States government anyway. And then we'll get to the bottom of who's behind what and how that fits somewhere along the way. One component that's not known out in the public so far, and I know it just because I've been on it for months, there's a connection between this Seidel Dominion computer vote system and Switzerland. And in a bankruptcy operation, Switzerland got the Swiss post office got control of that voting system. So there's an angle there. And I know the players involved. I know what the assertions are. It's still got to be fleshed out a bit. And I've actually been in communication with folks to decide how that maybe is going to proceed, who's going to proceed to go look into that. But there's an angle there even into the Swiss government that's interesting. And the reason that's also relevant is because there's a tie with a particular individual all the way back to Arizona and some of the crowd that was cooking the vote all the way back in Arizona. Now, Some of those members have gone out and spoken directly with Giuliani and part of that investigation. And there was a gentleman who was really acting as a patriot to get those people in front of the right people, had his personal jet flown out, picked him up and brought him back, and has also ferried other people around the country. So you got some patriots. And I just have to say something, in that particular case, that was a person that was not a big fan of President Trump. I don't think he was ever, a never Trumper. He just had a different viewpoint on the world. But what's interesting is this situation has caused so many Americans to have to rethink what they've been told and how they viewed the world around them, their part in the world. And here again, you have a person that is very successful, very well connected, and he is beginning to maybe see things differently than what he thought. A lot of the relationships, there was a lot of people that poo-pooed President Trump when he was candidate Trump and when he was businessman Trump, as though he was just in it to, get the helicopter in the car and the flash of being president. And they've come to realize, I think, over time now that just is not who this person is. This is a person that casts aside his personal well-being to do something really important for the country. And the legacy of President Trump that we will remember 10, 50, 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now, is that he came in and took the hits in order for us to expose just how cooked, how captured the American system has been, and to begin to move to get us back to a fair vote, real representation, and away from this stolen, captured Operation America that we've had to live with and endure back even before President Kennedy's assassination.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's part of the thing, even with the book, that people have to remember. I'm trying to give this big picture viewpoint. How are we going to get our country back on track? It's not just a matter of getting the right politicians in place now. There's so many aspects of America where we've been deindustrialized, shut down. Critical operations in the country have been moved offshore. And that was done at very high levels inside of government with people that were bought and paid for it, kind of like a Godfather movie, senators, representatives who have sold themselves out for money for themselves and their families so that they do well, but at the expense of the rest of America, really the rest of the world, because they have a globalist perspective. They see America being deindustrialized, being shut down, and they're going to feather their nests somewhere else. They're not acting and thinking like Americans. They're thinking about themselves and their families over everybody else. And the reason I mentioned this gentleman who was using his jet to go ferry some of the folks around to get things done quickly without waiting, he's thinking like an American. And he may not have come into this battle fully understanding, but he's getting an understanding every day that it's increasing. He's seeing what's really going on. He's seeing the players behind the scenes, the manipulations that have been going on in plain sight, but they just weren't, you couldn't stop it and you couldn't identify it precisely. And so all of a sudden he's got a different perspective. Now he's all in. Whatever I got to do, let's just make it happen. We got to get to, resolution, the truth, something here. And that's what's fun about this moment. I'm actually very excited to see people waking up collectively, coming out of the slumber at every level to just do whatever it takes to get the country back on track.
Yeah. And in your book, like I believe everyone in the world should read that book, but you even talk about the number 17 on a very interesting level and how it's kind of like in their face. I think when people see that in your book, like I did, I was like, oh my God, this is on such a even more incredible level.
Well, I'll tell you this. I've had other people around me, and I keep pointing out the numbers in various actions. And once you start to see it, you realize, oh my gosh, it's everywhere. And it's so orchestrated. You just, the 1133, 11.3 stuff, just over and over and over. So there's a bunch, for example, I'll give you an example. There was a bunch of state communications from players that are kind of inside the scam here. And all of their messages back and forth to each other, all the state people sent their messages out at the same time, 1103, which is a 33. And it was just comical. And one of the people pointed out to me, says, well, it's what I've been telling you all along. But they're so blatant. They're slaves to the numbers. Mm-hmm. And they have to have that symbology, that numerology, and also astrology. They tie things to how the celestial alignments are occurring, both in the planetary system and in the star system. And so certain events are critical to them in order to brand something with what they consider to be winning symbology, winning numerology, winning celestial alignments. And they have this occult idea that they can time stuff in that way, brand it in that way, and they get some extra power. Look, at the end of the day, these people that we're fighting are actually, for real, certifiably insane. I mean, I'm not actually kidding about that. They're actually off their rocker completely, but you have to understand how they think in order to get to, how are you going to fight them? If you understand how they think, you got a better chance of actually anticipating, seeing how they're moving, and then getting ahead of them and stopping them. And that's part of why they'll fail. They're so locked into the symbology and numbers and everything else that they can't help themselves.
Yeah. And you can see that on 9/11 when they dropped the Twin Towers and all the other symbology. The Earth Day is when the oil well down in the Gulf exploded.
Yes.
So all these different things, they play these games with the numbers, and when you see that, it's like, oh, they're at it again. Yep.
Well, in fact, on the BP thing down there in the Gulf, someday I'll talk about it more in depth. Almost nobody knows that was actually a test for other things that they want to do that have to do with the other physics, and at an adjacent location there. And so there's a certain reason why that was done, in order to test expressing, manipulating things at a planetary level from that type of a location. It was a test of technology. So there's all sorts going on that we can't get out in the weeds for the time being with people, and you kind of have to have an understanding what the rest of the technology is like. But that was so much bigger than even people now understand. There was a whole bunch more going on, and that's the case with a lot of this stuff. You're seeing things that you think are just for a little local situation, but actually they're trying to get into a position where they can take over planetary control. It's that big. If you don't see it at that scale, then you kind of miss what's really going on. And that's why the president, the people around him repeatedly say it's so much bigger than you can imagine. It's like I've mentioned on your show and others, China has a deep state. Well, who's their deep state? The same deep state as we have. It's the same players that are running China behind the scenes against us behind the scenes, and vice versa. It's the same players that are really behind Russia. They're trying to manipulate us. They divide us, get us working against each other, and they're the ones doing all the managing to keep us weakened while they seal the deal, if you will. on planetary control. And if they succeed, it'll be 1,000 years of slavery if we're lucky. If they have their way, it might be 10 or 20 or 50 years before they wipe us out, and they're the only ones who survive in their bloodlines. And while that may seem fantastical, it may seem incomprehensible to many people, the reality is they really are certifiably mad. It's like a James Bond movie, and they believe that they can wipe us out and their bloodlines survive. It's that crazy. So we can't underestimate our enemies on this. We have to think bigger and see things bigger, and that's one of the gifts. It's like it's a divinely inspired gift to have President Trump and the people around him in this situation, because they do see it at that level and they're operating accordingly. If you underestimate these guys, they'll hand your head to you on a plate. I mean, literally. And so that's why we're having these conversations. As people see it at that kind of a scale, then they don't, you can't be criticizing the president on every little tiny thing when you don't even understand the magnitude of the operations that we're involved in to recapture the vote, so that people have an honest election, get people that actually are interested in taking care of the American people, their own constituents. And then, by the way, this isn't America only, it's Make America Great Again. But then what do we do after we get America back on track? You know, we're cleaning up our own house. Mm-hmm. Then we're going to go out and help the rest of the world. And it's not about being our brother's keeper, us just being the next one to want to enslave people. A lot of people, somebody commented the other day, and I got to tell you this, Michael, I had somebody comment the other day, and it really upset me that talking about how America was, dominating the world and colonialists and all this other stuff. There's a crowd that's been in control here, just like in these other countries, that's been using us for their mischief, using our military, using our State Department to do their bidding. But the reality is that's not classic American. That's not who we are. But we're a captured operation as a country. And so you can't look at that and just blame the American people any more than we should blame Chinese people for what happened with this virus coming out of China. It's these globalists manipulating, using our system. We're captured operations, and we have to separate what's been happening at an individual level from what's been happening, that's been by our people or something. So we have to kind of put it in perspective and then realize, nope, we got to take those guys out, stop letting them use us for their purposes, and get back to operating as Americans, American way, period.
Definitely. They've been using our compassion and our goodness for a long time, but we really need to think like special forces guys and start to move very quickly and work these guys. I know you've been involved in this for a very long time. You showed me some of your work from far back, so it's pretty amazing how long you have been involved. And I know there's a lot of other patriots that have been working behind the scenes as well. We're at that inflection point right now. This good against evil. A lot of people have been talking about that for a long time, but this is really it. This is the thing we talked about for thousands of years. We're at that inflection point right now.
Well, let me just say something here too. Your listeners, those people that are here right now, you're seeing a kind of history that people have been dreaming about all of my life, the people that I've been around. Yep. They've done all sorts of things to just get by, to get to this moment in time. There's lots of cover operations you have to do to have credibility, pay the bills, do other stuff while you're doing really important things in the background. And a lot of these people, you'll never know the rest of their history. One of them, a great friend, just passed away 2 days ago. and out of Oklahoma, oil man Steve, and he'd done his own wildcatting, great stuff. Had dozens of his own wells, probably drilled 100 wildcats during his lifetime, and he had big money. During the Obama administration, they changed the rules, and Steve was one of the guys that got wiped out. He was doing fantastic, and the rule changes, took his income down 90%. He built a whole lifetime to be able to retire, enjoy life, and do it. And then on top of that, because of exposure to some of the gases and the dust and like that over a whole lifetime, he never really smoked or anything. He was damaged in his lungs, and that finally caught up to him, and he died way too young the other day. And we had talked a couple times over the last few weeks, but of course he knew that I was right in the thick of it, and he was dreaming. He held on a year ago to stick around to see the end of this. We talked about it. I'd said at the time, I says, come on, bro, stick around. This is going to be great. You're going to really enjoy this. And he did stick around to see the election and everything. And he had asked me point blank here probably a week ago before he went in for this procedure, just promise me you're going to win this for the country, for the kids. And, I promised him. I told him, don't sweat it. We got it. We got this thing.
Absolutely.
And he was, by the way, he was an Air Force B-52 trainer. He trained in the simulators, all the pilots in the G models. And he was a heck of a guy, great Air Force guy. And he will be missed.
That's wonderful that he stuck around and you had that influence on him. It's fantastic.
Well, and I keep saying it, but there's so many guys. I mean, I go through my mind. There's so many guys that wanted to be here, to be part of this right at this moment. And a lot of the listeners are thinking, well, but I'm not part of this, or they don't see the importance of this. Talking with your neighbors, family, friends. That's why I did the book, was kind of a coffee table book. A lot of your listeners know stuff that I've said and shared over the years repeatedly, but having it in one place helps to kind of be able to just go through it. And then it's kind of a coffee table book magazine that you can almost pick it up anywhere and find something interesting if you have relatives over and like that. And so the value is that it's a conversation starter. And sometimes you don't even get the conversation. They'll read it when they're over looking at something, or for the relatives, get off in their own world and think again. Just like the guy using his jet to fly around and get these people in the right places to make a difference, getting this vote scam uncovered and corrected. This is a numbers game. If we don't win on the numbers, we don't win. So, for example, we may have won this election with a 70% vote for President Trump. If it was only 52 or 53%, if it wasn't as overwhelming as it is, we might not actually have gotten far enough over the numbers to make it blatantly apparent to everybody in the audience just how fully we do have this situation, taken care of. It wouldn't be so blatantly obvious, I guess. And because we do have the numbers, most people are aware that a fraud has occurred, and it's a big fraud. So then we come back to what's the solution moving forward? That more people come to the fight. Look, we're going to have other parties. We can't be a one-party system. That's one of the things that I'm also concerned about. I don't think the Democratic Party exists in any meaningful form after 2022 with all the revelations that are coming out. But a big component of the Republican Party is going to be cleaned out also. It is not one side. We've got traitors and sedition, going on in the Republican Party too. So we have to anticipate something different in the American system. But for example, when we took down the Soviet Union, we won World War III. Soviet Union doesn't exist anymore. Great guys did incredible work, and the Soviet Union is gone. Instead of going to a hot war and nuking whole cities, we beat them, we outspent them, we outbuilt them, we out-technologed, them. We survived and they didn't. But in the aftermath of that, we didn't have that give and take thing. It was like somebody let go of the rope. And so there's a certain kind of a struggle there that, a strong counterpoint keeps you sharp. So you have to and then China came on and people got China going in the background, and Russia is back. They're there. We have to stay sharp because of it. But my point is that there's a certain iron sharpens iron as brother sharpens brother. There's a certain, even if it's not what you want, if you have a strong opposition, it keeps you on your game. You pay attention. So not having a Democratic Party there and keeping us sharp, you could get kind of laid back and not as versed on stuff over time. Right now, we're keyed up. We're going to win this thing. It's going to be decisive. A lot of these people are going away for the rest of their life in this world, and we're going to get it under control. But then how do we balance that out so we get back to having real conversations as a country to get things back on track? Well, we're going to have some people come in and they have different viewpoints, and that's going to be useful because those different viewpoints will keep us healthy. So we want folks to come in and have that different viewpoint, and it's going to be in the form of a party, a political party or two. That's healthy. I don't want just one. It's not healthy from President Trump's side either. This isn't just about 2022 or 2024 even. Who's going to fill that role as the faithful opposition? Who are those people going to be? I don't mind having, if it's an honest discussion, I'm not afraid of an honest discussion. Let's get some people in there that have different viewpoints that can be honest about it and figure out what's best for the country. And it's not just a Republican conservative only type of a thing. And there's so many issues that we have to be able to discuss. We've been twisted on what this global warming thing is. We've been twisted on this whole carbon and water thing. Why? Because it suits certain globalists' objectives. How do we get to the best energy system for the planet? The planet runs on energy. People need energy. People need to be able to warm their houses, cool their houses, grow things, go places, do stuff. And this shutting down of America, this deindustrialization of America doesn't help the world, doesn't help us. So we're going to have to turn it back on. We're going to need energy to do that. Is it oil? Is it gas? Is it other things? Well, I'd say that there's a little bit of balance. There's a transition, but it's other things too. So there's a conversation that has to be had to get there. You're not going to do that with just one party because then people only come up with one idea. That's why, guys need their wife's input and vice versa. Why? Because they don't see things the same, but sometimes that saves you from a disaster. Even if you don't want to hear the other side, there's times that they're able to provide you with a perspective that you wouldn't have otherwise thought of, and keeps you out of trouble. So anybody that actually knows what's going on with those kind of relationships gets it. That you have somebody with another view for a reason. If you both thought the same way, somebody isn't necessary. We as a country need people that will be honest, have an honest conversation, that might have a different viewpoint to get to what's best for us as a country to move forward.
Yeah, that's beautiful said. I'm always stressing that, us guys, we need to tap into that feminine side of ourselves to bring in the intuition, the higher levels of consciousness. And for women, they need to be strong, because these people that are trying to destroy us, we can't have sympathy for them. We have to be compassionate, yes, but we have to start being strong and start to push back and have that warrior mentality, that, special operations force guy, mentality. So what I know, you're busy doing some things in one of the locations where you work at. Can you talk about the election?
Yeah, let's get into it a little bit on the I'm in Vegas right now, and we're getting ready to switch cities. There's a lot of stuff going on in the East Coast. I know that a number of folks are in Georgia right now and have been coming into Georgia over the last day or two because of what's going on as far as the fight. And but Vegas with Clark County is really a big deal, and the reason is because unlike a lot of these other contested areas around the country where they're trying to get to a recount isn't going to fix the issue. A recount will only give you kind of the same number because somebody was in there and cooked the books, if you will. They change things in ways that you just can't unscramble the egg. But in Vegas and Clark County, there were specific things that were done related to the way that the ballots were signed, read, and then the envelopes that have the signatures for verifying that a person had the right to vote in the election, that they were a registered voter. Those envelopes were separated from the ballots. The attorney out here that took the cases on related to that, his name is Craig Mueller. No relation to the other Mueller, thank God. And he has actually won a case previously, actually twice, where there was a vote in Clark County area. And that's a big deal because if we get a revote, you're going to have all eyes on that race. And the mischief isn't going to get to happen with everybody watching this time. It won't be obscure like it was before. And I think we're going to be stunned at the numbers that we get back. Now, there was a county commissioner's hearing yesterday. And during that county commissioner's hearing, the registrar, Mr. Gloria for Clark County, county registrar, he testified that there were in fact discrepancies in the vote that could not be rectified in a recount because of certain procedures that happened. And it has to do with the Agilist signature machine. They were, instead of having what the law requires, which is two persons looking at the envelopes, agreeing that the signatures matched, comparing it with the signatures on file. They were just, for COVID reasons, et cetera, they had this procedure where they were just letting a machine verify that the signatures were the same as what was on file. Problem was that the machine kept kicking out the ballots as not having valid signatures. Well, my contention would be that the machine was doing exactly what it was supposed to do. It was saying these signatures don't match, don't fit, but there's resolution issues, et cetera, et cetera. So the long and short of it is, as we understand it, Mr. Gloria decided to just let them go ahead and turn the resolution down to 50%. So a depixelated picture. Well, when they did that, a few more ballots went through, but the majority wouldn't go through. So they dialed it down to 40% resolution. Still didn't work. So he himself made the decision to go ahead and just dial it down to 0. So it technically wasn't even reading the signature. And you have to think about this. He's just a county registrar for the vote. If he's going to change the rules in his county, he's supposed to clear that with the Secretary of State. We know from the Secretary of State's office that he didn't consult them, advise them, ask them, anything. He just did it arbitrarily. Well, how can you trust any of the vote? You didn't verify the signatures to see if the people that were sending ballots in were actually authorized to vote. You have nothing to go by there. So at the end of the day, we have this, and the ballots now have been separated from the envelopes, so you don't know which envelopes go with which ballots, et cetera, et cetera. And then there's just piles of people involved who have had their vote cooked here. So running for U.S. Congress, there's Dan Rodimer, great guy, Jim Marchant. Both of them would go to the U.S. Congress if the vote gets redone correctly. Mm-hmm. I suspect we'll have two more congressmen that are on the Republican side going to U.S. House. Mm-hmm. Judges are involved. And think about this: when you get this twisted vote, all of it going Democrat, it locks in a system that you can't win against. So, for example, they were using county employees to run the polls and count the vote and everything else. Well, the county employees, it's like Washington, D.C., they're 5 or 6% Democrats. Mm. The handful of Republicans would be pushed off to the side. So it was a way of fixing things, having their fixers in place to protect their vote. And that's why things went awry the way they did. So the county commissioners in the hearing, after hearing some of the testimony, decided that the closest race, which was for another commissioner, had to be a revote yesterday, and they're waiting for Mr. Gloria to give them the details, and now that would be done in the first part of December. Mm. He cracked the door open a little bit. Nice. Now the courts have filings from Jim Marchant and a state senator and some judges like that, about a half dozen people who are suing against Clark County and against Mr. Gloria and demanding a revote. And while it doesn't include President Trump at this time, at some later point in this procedure, he could very well be dialed in. Right now, President Trump, his team, who's been coordinating with us, his team is looking at a legislative action that would go towards a recount and possibly eventually result in a revote also. So there's different strategies in play. If we were all doing the same thing, somebody wouldn't be necessary. So there's different perspectives in play about what we're doing here. But this is the location where, although Nevada's only got 6 votes on the electoral college, mm-hmm. The template works here, and then we take it to other parts of the country. So, for example, on the Dominion vote system, I asked the person to come in that did the early work here and assisted us in getting on top of what was going in the numbers in the Dominion system. And then he went out to other locations. He's been working now with Sidney Powell and this bigger component for the president's operation, and uncovering all sorts of incredible things. But that real push started right here in Las Vegas. And this has been the hub for a lot of the template that is then going out into the rest of the country. And it's unique in a lot of ways with the way the game's been played here, but it will help other parts of the country. I think the starting place for the fight isn't the East Coast on a lot of this. It's right here for a whole bunch of reasons and next door in Arizona. And we're proving that. And the country should stay focused. We're going to go kick ass and take numbers here.
Yeah, you definitely got your shit kicking boots going on. That's good. So, that's going to be helpful going forward, I believe. And if it can be like you're talking about, I was very excited when you were telling me this earlier. Mm-hmm. I was like, if they get it there in Clark County, it's going to spread. So that's fantastic. You're involved in that. Thank you.
Well, and by the way, I will tell you this. We had dinner last night with some great folks. Bonnie was friends with President Trump for years and years, related to business stuff. And so we were having some great time last night telling Donald Trump stories. And this city, these people here, there is a very strong contingent of folks who are pissed off their state has been captured by this Harry Reid crowd and some of these people that really weren't working in the best interest of the country, but they sure love President Trump. And one of the casino owners is a very good friend of the president and has really been right there supporting him. There's a whole bunch of great people, or even people that were opposed to President Trump. One of the other main casinos here, and his head of security is a great friend. And he says, all those years we were just fighting against President Trump on the casino stuff here in town. But that person is all in with the president now and understands the problem at a much bigger level and has rethought his position. I'm just telling you, Michael, the country is waking up that it's not what we were sold, that President Trump is working in the best interest of the American people. It's not just a political thing, it's an American thing.
Yeah. And yeah, I saw something recently where the Dominion software that, they seized from that CIA safe house in Frankfurt basically had information that showed that Donald Trump had won in a landslide, and they manipulated that vote. So that'll be interesting if that comes out as well.
Well, I think it is already come out. People know intuitively that they've been sold a bill of goods. They know that this is a cooked vote. They see it. Look, you can go anywhere in the country. It was like the other day here in Vegas. They had a parade celebrating that Biden had won. And there's a BMW at the front and 5 Jeeps afterwards. And I can tell you right now, the people in those Jeeps had never owned a Jeep before. Okay, that's just the way it was. They'd never seen a Jeep before, and those Jeeps were pristine. They just came off the car lot. They were not Jeeps that anybody in this part of the country would have been, using. And I'll just tell you, there's something going on with the branding with the Jeep thing. Somebody's got a little scam going there. I think there's something there. But my point is, we're being scammed by these people as though they're the real America, and they're not. We're the real Americans, and we're going to go get them and take this thing back. The numbers are so vastly for President Trump in this election, for a change from these criminals, and trying to fool people into believing that this vote was somehow got Biden in office. That's such a freaking scam. That is so cooked at this point. And I think people, you might think that, you want a Democrat thing or something, but at the end of the day, you don't want to win like cheaters. And I think people are embarrassed by the whole cheating thing. I think that's part of the whole point here, that it's not American. You could win, but if you do it by cheating, that actually isn't American. That's mob stuff. That's scamming stuff. That's somebody else's, racket down in Banana Republic or something. And I think even Democrats are embarrassed. That's why I say I don't think the Democratic Party exists after 2022. I think they'll be wiped out over the next couple of years, and a lot of them going to jail. And so I don't actually have a problem with other parties, other groups kind of reassembling to try and find what's going to be a faithful opposition with different viewpoints to get to what America needs. It's, there's this idea, it's 2 wings on the bird. You need both of them, 2 oars in the water. So I'm not afraid at all to have people that might have a different perspective in the fight saying something, but not cheaters, not these scammers, and especially not in this town. You come here and start cheating, somebody's going to deal with you. And that's exactly what's happening here. We got guys that are dealing with this, and we're going to take these guys out and get control here and do that right out across the rest of the country. You can just take it to the bank.
Yeah, it's going to be, you brought up a very valid point about, it's not just about the president. It's also about, representatives, senators, judges, a lot of these different states have ideas of, how they wanted things to go. Maybe those were manipulated as well. So there's a lot of different reasons why that new vote has to happen in a lot of areas.
Well, the other thing is this. Think about all the technology that has been shipped offshore, all of the patents that have been given up, all of the mischief that's kept America from growing. The big thing after we get these guys kicked out, how are we going to restart America? What's it look like? Are we going to do it on somebody's cooked baloney about global warming and carbon and water and everything else? Look, you can want those things, but there's ways to do it that's far more efficient. That's part of why I'm here in Vegas. There's a whole component here that has to be done, and it really has to be done correctly from right here. And so moving out in the future, you're going to hear some stuff, and I think it's going to be shocking to a lot of people, but you have to have a clean sheet of paper, a fresh mentality. We're building for the next 50, 100 years. Now, a lot of your people, and it's like Steve said before he passed away, well, I won't get to see it, but I sure as hell hope you guys get this sorted out for the kids and the grandkids. You got to have a long-term perspective. Things didn't get gone awry overnight. I remember just how incredible and beautiful it was. All the promises of the 60s with the technology and space and going and doing important big things. And yet we've been locked up. We've been frozen. We've been trapped just going around in circles for decades now and cut off from the growth technologically. Yeah, you got better phones and a better microwave and, you got a flat screen TV, but that's not solving an energy problem. That's not, look, people think that you're going to have less energy with more technology. No, you need more. And a growing planet, there's lots of really cool stuff. These people want to stop the population. Shoot, we got the whole solar system to fill up. Come on. Let's get real here. They have this zero sum thing. If I get something, it takes away from somebody else. Right. Bullshit. Right. If you do it the correct way, we both gain. That's this trade and improvement. We're not running around in carts on horseback anymore. And this next evolution for us as a people, as a planet, is to go to something far beyond that. And we can, but we can't do it with these cooked ideas, these oversimplified ideas of a few people who want to keep us chained down like Gulliver with their Lilliputian ideas and thoughts and concepts. I remember when they were talking about peak oil. Oh my gosh, what a crap. There's no such thing as peak oil. The planet's got so much oil you can't even use it all in 10 million years. It's unbelievably thick with oil, but we don't need oil forever. We only need it for a window longer, other than for plastics and other stuff. You got people that aren't having honest conversations. And we're going to get back to having honest conversations. But first, we're going to lock up a bunch of scumbags that have been twisting the conversations and polluting the conversations because they want to control us. They don't want the future. They just want control. They're mad. And we're going to get their madness confined someplace on an island, far, far away, where they can enjoy each other's madness. They can go fly over the cuckoo's nest and occupy someplace else, but not here. We're going to get our country back on track. We're going to do big things. We're going to create a future for our families and our children with the ability to actually really provide in meaningful ways and, enjoy a bright future, not a dark future, this dark winter stuff. Oh my gosh, what a crock of crap. Biden and his crew, dark winters. Bullshit.
Yeah, you bring up some beautiful points, and I've been stressing those over the last few weeks of how when these deep staters basically are taken away and their assets seized, and we reconvert those assets to something positive, there's a lot of people that are going to get put in positions, they have great ideas, they have high integrity, incredible ideas that are, futuristic, like we're talking about. And those are the people that are really going to stand out, and they're going to get pushed forward. It's going to be beautiful.
Yeah. And, one thing too, is if you don't have hope, if you're just out there, what's happening? So many of the people that you talk to, they're down, What's going to happen? I don't know.
Mhm.
Because these people are dark. Everything that they say is some disaster, and we're not going to, we're going to have vaccines to the moon and ships and everything else. That's somebody else's scam for America. That's somebody else's scam for the world. That's not the world that we're going to do. We're going to do a world that's bright and beautiful with hope, places to go, things to do, enjoyment. The American thing, this pursuit of happiness that's part of the American way, and share that with the rest of the world. And we're going to get out of this enslavement, this mental slavery that these people have for us. That is a cult. That is satanic. That is evil. This MK Ultraing of us as a people, as a planet, as a nation. We're going to put a stop to that, and we're going to get out to where we can start offering hope between each other, new ideas, new technology, cool jobs, cool things to go out and do, and build out not just our planet, but the rest of the solar system. There's big stuff coming. We're going to have some fun conversations. Just because we get this election over with, we're far from over. We're going to have 4 more beautiful years, the greatest growth years, the greatest discovery and new ideas years that you've ever conceived in your life. There's stuff that's going to come out that you just can't even begin to imagine over these next several years. And we're going to put the, bad guys on the run. Yeah. And the world is going to have to make a choice. Do I want their dark winters, their dark futures, these globalistas, or do they want to go with the American idea, growth, expansion, wealth, beautiful things, beautiful ideas, a better world? And I think that we're going to get them a better world. I think they're going to see that, and they're going to make a choice, and they're going to choose against these slave masters who've been holding us back in poverty and darkness, 50 miles an hour. Yeah, right. Like that's going to get us somewhere and get something done. They paint a picture that isn't real with the pollution and the crud and everything else. Let's go build a real future, and we'll show them how. They said we couldn't get the economy back on track. Look what the president did, even with all this other stuff, getting things on track, and now get this restraint off us. We'll do much better going out in the future. It's not near as dark as they'd like to paint it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. You have those behind the scene insights that really give people hope, and I'm glad you're sharing some of those. I've seen behind the curtains as well, and the technology is through the roof. The stuff you're talking about is like, I completely agree with you. It's gonna be like amazing. But yeah, they have definitely kept us in the dark on a lot of different things, education, lots of different things. So that's going to be cleared away, and like you said, the next 4 years, I think it's going to be unbelievable.
Yeah, well, and again, it's with your listeners and people like your listeners to, if you school yourself up, understand what the conversation is, and then we educate our neighbors, give them the options, help them to see things differently, then that we can all be on the same team. We can all work together. We don't have to have the same idea. It's a conversation. So let's have a conversation and get to the right answers. And I don't expect people to say, you're right, you're right, you're right, you're right, over and over and over. Look, they got a different viewpoint. If it's honest, if it's informed, I want to have the conversation, find out what we're missing. But, at some point, you have to move from theory to applied things. You have to actually do something. It's one of the things going on out here. We got a bunch of government projects, where they're just constantly doing theory, paper machines, and they never get it to the real thing. You have to have applied sciences, not just theoretical, in the universities and the rest of the structure. We're going to start moving things ahead, actually applying a lot of the stuff that we know, and jumpstart the world, get it back on track. You can steer a moving ship we got to get the country moving again, and then we can kind of steer it. If people have a different destination, they see things a little different, and we all don't have to go to the same place. It's a big world out there. Some areas of the country want to go one way, some want to go a different way. If we're all going basically the same destination, but we got ports that fit one group of people over another, that's fantastic. A one size does not fit all. My boat shoes don't work very good out here in the desert. My boots are unsafe on my boat. So I have to think about where I'm at, what I'm doing, what's the plan. And we have different things going on in different parts of the country. So we can tailor how we function as a country to different environments, different people. What works on one coast doesn't work on the other. But as a country overall, we can get going in the same direction. Where we go one, we go all. And everybody can have their part. It's a big boat. We got plenty of room for different types of entertainment activity for everybody, but we're going to go forward as a country, rebuild the country, get these scammers. We're going to throw them overboard. They can go tread water somewhere else. We're moving this ship forward. Country's going to get back on track. I'm so thankful that President Trump has done such a fantastic job, and I'm so thankful so many Americans have begun to wake up and decide they're not going to fight President Trump. They're on the same thing to get the country back on track together and move forward.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. What's going to happen in the future, and I just want to thank you. The numbers have been well over 1,000 more than we had last time you were here.
Yeah,
pretty close to 3,000. Watching live. So a lot of people are ready to move, and I think working, like you said, as a team. I learned that at a very high level in special forces, and I think that's definitely where we're going in the future. We're definitely going to be working as a team. These people that have been hijacking us for so long, they're getting taken out of the picture. So yeah, your book, definitely talk about your book. I'll have that in the description information in my site, guys. If you have not read this book yet, you absolutely want to, because you'll know a lot of the stuff that Juan is talking about is definitely something that's coming in the future. It'll open your mind completely. Everyone in the world should read this book. Absolutely.
Well, here's what I'm doing. I'm going to sign a book over to you, and I appreciate, and it's for all of your listeners too. I'm going to sign a book over to you. I'll drop it in the mail to you. I'll get an address for you. And books have been going out now for a few days, so people should start seeing them. The post office was kind of holding stuff up a bit, I think. And then we had because I told people I'd give them two of them, the plastic cover that they had to do for it wouldn't quite fit, so they had to get a different wrap or something or other. But anyway, those are going out, and this first edition is the victory election victory edition, and that's kind of cool. It's badged kind of special for that. We have a second edition that'll be out in a bit. This one's just about gone, I think. Just a few more, probably maybe 4 or 5 days. I'm gonna have to cut it off because I'm holding some back to make sure. There were some early people on the ebook that I promised, and there appears to be some that didn't get their upgrade thing or whatever, and I don't want to take a chance on not letting them get it as I promised. So I'm going to hold some back. So probably here in the next 3, 4 days, 5 days, I'll have to kind of seriously consider whether we stop marketing the victory one, and we'll wait for that next edition to come out. So anyway, if there's people that want it to be fantastic, it is cool. It's a coffee table book. You get 2 of them right now. If you buy the ebook, you get a code so you can get the books themselves, and that's what's going on. So
fantastic. Yeah, I got notice that the book was shipping, so I'm pretty excited about it. And if you're going to send me an autograph one, that's going to be amazing. I'll make sure I present it to everybody so they can see it. They'll love that. But yeah, having that on a coffee table, if somebody picks that up and then, sees just one paragraph of that information, is going to blow them open. It's going to be quite the conversational piece. It's good.
Well, and that's the whole idea.
Yeah.
I will tell you that I I won't be able to sign very many. I'll try to get a handful out there, but somewhere along the line, I'll get a few out there. But that'll be a pretty rare piece. I think I signed 3 of them so far. So you're probably the 4th one, maybe the 5th one.
Honor.
But that's because I appreciate that you've let me have time with your audience, and I'll send you something else out with it for your audience. You can figure out how you can get a few of them to the audience, but I'll let you figure that out. And I won't tell you what it is for now, but you can share something with your audience here when I send this out. I'll try to get something out here in the next few hours. So
very fun. Very fun. Yeah, I think last time you were with me, we had over 50,000 views total. This one probably going to knock up close to 100,000. So it'll be nice. This word, when it gets out, people share it, please. It's very important. It gives people hope, opens people's consciousness to the possibility of what's coming, and I think it's definitely going to make an impact. So
well, and let me just say, I mean, I'm being a little bit fluffy right now, and I get that, and I can hear people out there, oh my gosh, he's not giving us all the look. You got to understand that we're right in the thick of battle right now. There's a lot of stuff that we can't convey precisely, but you just have to realize that things are moving forward. And, there's a lot of people that are kind of dark right now. We don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be horrible. No, it isn't. We're kicking these people in the ass. We are having great success over and over and over. And once we whack them good, we're going to have an incredible future as a country. We're going to have, we're all going to come together and start looking at how we put this together right. So being a little bit fluffy and dreaming a little bit about the future, some of the things we're going to share, I'm going to share them with your audience, Michael. I'm going to share some things that they just aren't going to believe how cool they are over the next many months, in the right context, as we begin to clear some of these, tough situations out and get some stability back in the country. It's not time right now, but we're going to have some great conversations about how to get the country going in ways that we dreamed of back in the 50s and 60s, and start getting us back on track. And there'll be conversations. Not everybody's going to agree, but we'll make the case as best we can, and then people can decide. Maybe they will agree with us on what the plan is going forward and why. I've got great experts that we've had in town over the last week and a half preparing on some of this. And even where there was some people that had a little bit of a question, once we got into it further, like, oh my gosh, you're right. Oh my gosh. And these are people that wouldn't normally have sided with us, and they're seeing it. So we're going to do some incredible things. We got an incredible president. We got an incredible family of the president that are backing him. Great community. Your listeners are part of it because they're going to go out and help people to understand these things in meaningful ways. That's part of the fight. If we don't educate the people around us, we're not going together, then it won't work. So every one of them's kind of a digital warrior. That's why I made the book is to give you a tool to share with friends and family. Let them wake up at their own speed and do the mental gymnastics. And maybe we get a few of them that you didn't think were going to be on your side. Well, you might be surprised. They might find out things and they go, you know what? Now that I think about it, I think you're right. So let's give them a chance to do just that. Go have some fun. And then when you're an old man or old woman, you're going to be able to say, your kids ask you, what did you do in the Great War to win the world back, to regain control of the world? Well, I was a digital warrior. I was an educator within my own community, with my own family, and I helped share and bring people up to speed. Well, that's how we're going to win. One street at a time, one house at a time. Come on, get in the fight. It's going to be fun. It's going to be awesome.
That's beautiful, Juan. And I appreciate you always coming on, and you're always welcome anytime you want to come on. And my audience loves you, and we share this information greatly. So
Yep.
Look forward to, kept the hat on. That's beautiful.
Well, yeah, I got people waiting for me. We're about to walk out the door, and
All right.
I'm anxious to get into it. And I'm, we've had a lot of fun here in Vegas, and we're going to go get some bad guys today. Right now, we're going to go have some fun.
Fantastic. All right. Thanks a lot, Juan, and have a great one.
All right, super. Talk to you again, Jaco.